Yeah, good, thank you.
Three changes, as we know. Just talk us through the factors that really swayed your decision in that respect.
Just about picking what we thought was the best team for this match. Again, some tight, tough calls, and lots of different choices that we could have gone with. We could have easily gone with the same 23 who won the first Test match, but we've made a couple of changes because just felt that picking a team for the second Test match and what we're expecting to come from South Africa.
Yeah, how close were you in terms of that consideration of sticking with a winning team?
Yeah, it was a discussion about that. It was kind of, the discussion was that if we're going to make any changes, you kind of don't make one, you might make two or three changes. And we did discuss, do we reward that 23 for winning the first Test? And then we looked at a couple of individuals. We looked at ball and play time. We thought our bench was outstanding in terms of that impact, and so that was definitely a consideration with making a couple of changes, but also being aware of it's not just the 15, it's a 23.
Obviously, we can look at Chris Harris in the midfield and experience at the international level, but a first Test for the Lions and such a big occasion as well. What difference do you feel that he can make at centre?
Well, we're expecting him to be incredibly direct. We weren't disappointed with Elliott's game. His work rate off the ball was excellent. It was difficult for him to get into any attacking shape, really. So, and those attacking options tended to come more in the second half. So, they were very direct in the way that they attacked in terms of Dele Ande. So, we're expecting more of the same and a ferocious kicking battle as well.
And for Conor Murray at scrum half, is that a case of just needing that extra bit of an experienced head that he brings?
No, just again, he was good when he came on. It's going to be tight in that first 20 or 30 minutes. The way that South Africa tend to play, if you look at the two games, the A game and this game, is that they try and build a scoreboard, they try and get in front and then look to hold on. So that first 20, 30 minutes is pretty important for us. And then we've been happy with the way that we've finished, particularly in the second half in both those games, and felt strong. And potentially the game might open up in the tempo of the game, which is something that we think Ali can bring maybe in that second half, and same with the other players that are on the bench.
And with Dan Biggar being named in the starting lineup again, is it looking good for him? I mean, how confident are you in passing the return to play protocols? Yeah,
he's looking good at the moment. He's gone through he's going through that process, and we've got an independent consultant who's looking at that as well. So so he's passed everything at the moment, and hopefully he's ready to go on Thursday.
Well, when you say that you expect your side to improve, what is the biggest improvement you're looking for in the second Test?
Just starting a little bit better. So in the first Test, we gave away a number of penalties in that first half. In the second half, we were much more disciplined. We were pleased with basically our control of the game. We only gave them 4 lineouts in the game. So obviously that discipline in the first half was important, and we probably at times put ourselves under a bit of pressure by shifting the ball on occasions, being caught behind the gain line and allowing them to get some breakdown turnovers. So we just got to be really smart in terms of that management, and we were, like I said, I thought we were outstanding in that second half.
And now you go into the game on the brink of a first series victory over South Africa since 1997. How does that alter the mindset from that first Test now?
Well, they're going to be desperate, aren't they? So they want to desperately stay in the series, and we've got a chance of winning the series on Saturday. And spoken to the players about that we've just got to make sure that we're mentally right, because you don't want to be using your get out of jail card, which is going to the third Test. So you want to make the most of the opportunity that we've created in winning the first Test, and hopefully trying to seal a series victory on Saturday.
Thanks, Warren.
Cheers.
Hi Tim, can I go next? Nick from Talk. Warren, 3 changes. Was the agreement on those quite easy? Were you tempted to make any more or less as you discussed it with your assistants?
Yeah, we had a good discussion around the front row and the half-back, centres and the back three. So look, it's one of those situations where you're making 2 or 3 changes where you feel those players will bring something to it, and then with other players in the squad, you want them to build on that first test performance because you think the cohesion with the combinations and them playing that first game that they'll get better as well. So it's just trying to get that balance between what we had achieved, not making too many changes, but and then just picking what we think is the best team that can do a job on Saturday.
With Chris Harris in and Conor Murray as well, those changes, Ali Price switching roles there, is that a little shift in the game plan? Is it now really about meeting that physicality first and perhaps speeding the game up later?
Yeah, that's kind of what we've been trying to do, really. So there's not a lot of space, and particularly in that first 20 or 30 minutes, and we saw how aggressive they were. Particularly, I think the first opportunity we had to attack when Elliot Daly's been hit in the contact. So they're going to be incredibly aggressive. They'll run hard, and so it's about staying in that arm wrestle. That's the message, because there isn't a lot of space and a lot of opportunities in that first 20 or 30 minutes, and particularly they don't play. They play very little rugby in their own half, so it's a territory battle as well. So we've got to make sure that kind of the messages of if we're 6-all at 30 minutes or 9-6 ahead or something like that going into half time, then I think it puts us in a pretty good place. But it was 12-3 down, could have been 17-3 down like we were again in the A game, and then that's a much bigger challenge to come back from. So our focus is on us starting well and making sure that our game management's really good.
And in the forward pack, the Springboks conceded 11 penalties to the Lions 5. How fruitful do you think that area could be for you again?
Well, I think it's if that was me, it'd be one area that I'd be really trying to tidy up. And we felt that as soon as we went through some multiple phases, they tended to concede a penalty, and so that's something we'll look at, trying to play through phases, particularly in their half. And I think there was 6 on the bounce that they conceded. Like I said, our discipline was much better in that first half, but there's no doubt when you play a test match, you look at those sort of things in terms of where you need to improve, and I have no doubt that they will be targeting that area in terms of improving their discipline, particularly in that second half, as we did at half time about the penalties we gave away in the first half.
And just a couple more from me. Rassie Rasmus has denied he's been the man posting videos on Twitter to question officials' decisions. I mean, what do you make of all that? Do you see it as the cracks beginning to show in the Springbok camp?
Oh, no, I just think it's a bit of a separate sideshow, isn't it? So I haven't really taken much notice of it. The focus has been on ourselves and just letting that happen outside of our stuff. So we haven't really been looking at that sort of stuff. We've heard the stories, and I'm just trying to stay out of that stuff. I don't not on social media and things. So like I said, I haven't really taken too much notice of it.
Well, finally, Warren, you've not lost a series on your 2 previous tours as head coach. Saturday has a chance to complete the set. Would it be your proudest achievement in rugby if you can pull it off?
It'd definitely be one of those things that be pretty memorable, in terms of being involved as head coach in those 3 tours of all the 3 Southern Hemisphere nations. It's incredibly tough to win a Lions series. I know we drew the last one, but to win the Lions series is tough because of the challenges. You're playing away from home, normally against one of the Southern Hemisphere teams that are. I think on 3 of those occasions, the first time that it came to South Africa in 2009, I mean, last time was against the world champions, 2009 was against the world champions, and this time it's against the world champions. So, you tend to be playing one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the world, and that's a massive challenge. So, The whole thing is about how brilliant the Lions is, and trying to grow the brand as much as we can. And I think everyone wants Lions teams to be competitive and series to be tight, and that's why we get so excited about them.
Thank you.
Chris Jones. Okay, Chris, right, go Jamie Borthwick there.
Hi Warren, right, okay, I'll take this one. The Springboks going with a 6-2 split on the bench, is that something that you predicted? Is it something that you thought they would go with, and what does it say about the way that they're going to approach this?
Yeah, I think that they, it's traditionally what they have done in the past. They did that in the World Cup. We thought they might have done that last week. But, it's something that we'd spoken about before, and, we've had a 7-1 split on tour, so... so it wasn't. It's not going to change the way they're going to approach the game. They want to be physical up front, and they want to bring guys that are fresh and continue to try and take the game to us. So we need to be prepared for that. And I've been pleased, how we've handled that physicality, and I think we've brought our own physicality to the matches as well.
Is there a particular thinking behind bringing Totti Falatau onto the bench instead of an open side like Hamish Watson?
Just we thought about that sort of number 8 cover, and as the game loosens up a bit in terms of him a little bit in the wider channels and his footwork. I mean, he's had some good moments on tour, some big moments in terms of carrying and stuff, and we know how dangerous he can be in that. With that regard, so we just felt that just having cover for Jack and with Tig as well, as the game opens up, that they might be able to have a significant impact.
Thanks, Warren. Good luck.
Cheers.
Hi, Warren. Sorry about that before. I just wondered how much confidence you've got as a squad by the fact you could go and match the Boks in some of the areas of their traditional strength on Saturday, especially in the second half at the scrum and mainly at the maul. Yeah,
that's something that we'd focused on right from the start about, that's where they're going to try and get dominance, and we've worked incredibly hard in those areas to make sure that we've got at least parity, and we've had dominance in certain areas, and we've got stronger in those areas. So you take that away from them, and like I said, we only gave them 4 lineouts last week, so they didn't have a set piece to really launch from, which they like to do. So yeah, from that point of view, been really pleased in those areas, and that's one area where they've tended to go to gain ascendancy, but also to get penalties, and we talk about the halfway battle and controlling halfway, and we think we've been pretty good in that area. We need to tighten up a little bit in some of those aspects, but we've definitely pleased with how our set pieces performed, and we feel like we've continued to get better in that area.
And given these test matches can be won and lost on fine margins and preparation, have you given any thought to setting up a Twitter account between now and Saturday?
No, I don't even know how to get onto it to set up a Twitter account. So I think I'd end up getting too much abuse. So there's no point in me doing that.
Hi Warren, how are things?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Could you just, you must have been delighted with the impact of your bench last weekend. Could you just talk a bit about kind of how that role has evolved over the years? I mean, so much talk nowadays of 6-2 splits and things like that. You mentioned there you had 7-1 obviously at one point in the tour. But how has the role of the bench in general evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think it's kind of something, it's definitely a discussion now when you are picking a team. You're looking at the bench, and sometimes you've got 2 players, and one of the players might be the best player, but he's also the biggest impact coming off the bench. and the other player is someone who can do a job for you to start, but might not have the same impact. And so you go with those decisions sometimes. And we had a run of a couple of years ago with Wales when we had of victories, and really that was as much about the impact that our bench had. And to give you an example, when Gareth Anscombe was playing, we were starting him at 10, and Dan Biggar was coming off the bench and doing a great job in terms of closing games down for us, and defensive being strong and putting us in the right areas. So definitely it's a massive part of the game now in terms of that impact that bench can have, and bringing energy or momentum or being able to change the game. It's not about you definitely want guys who are going to have a positive influence when they come off the bench.
Hi Warren. There were some calls for Tupi Faletau to start instead of Jack Conan. Why did you decide to go with Jack Conan again?
I just think he's kind of been unheralded a little bit, and some people sometimes look for the spectacular stuff, and it's not something I do. Is looking at all the things that he did well, and he doesn't make many mistakes. His carrying was excellent, his footwork was good, and he was very, very solid. He didn't miss any tackles. So I thought as a loose forward trio that trio can get better, and you're wanting to keep that combination. We think Toby can have an impact, and him coming off the bench. So sometimes you make changes, but we were very pleased with the way that Jack played last weekend.
Hi Warren. Obviously Liam Williams dropped out of the match day 23 from last weekend. How difficult a decision was that, given how important the aerial battle is in this Test series?
Yeah, it was a tough one. Both him and Hamish, it was a tough decision, and we did discuss whether we started Liam on the wing, and that was a debate, and we kind of felt he was more of we considered him more of as a fullback decision. And Stuart Hogg was good last week. There was a significant aerial battle, and we looked at the things, and we came out slightly on top of that in terms of the crumbs that we got, but we're expecting a lot more, and so it was a long discussion about that, but when we just talked about as well as probably the cover that Elliot gives us in terms of being able to cover 13 and the back three. That was a really tough call for Liam to miss out on the squad.
Hey Warren, how's it going? Just a question, just looking at the squad, you've made your picks now, but the likes of Jamie George, Bundy and Ian Henderson, kind of senior guys missing out, and guys who are big motivators as well. Kind of wondering what those kind of guys have been like around training, and especially the fact that they're going to miss out again. Have they been good for kind of keeping the other guys going? Yeah,
that's been it's really tough on some of those players, because you think about a lot of them are used to being number one selections for their home nation. You come on a Lions tour and you're not making the 23, and I understand that and appreciate it. And that's the hardest part of the week, is when you're picking a test team and you're naming it, and you're going to have a number of guys are going to be incredibly happy to be selected, but then you're going to have a group that are going to be incredibly disappointed, and I expect that. So that's it's the hardest thing to deliver those messages, and it's a real challenge. But again, spoke to the group about that today, and say, look, we the guys that are starting, or the 23, that we've got to get ourselves mentally right. We've got to make sure that we're right there, because if we're 4 or 5% off mentally, then it's going to be a long day for us. And if we're mentally right, we've got a chance of winning the series. And if we're not, and we lose the second test, then you probably see a number of changes going to the third test. And if we do win the series as well, you'll probably see a number of changes for the third test. So, hopefully for those guys that have still missed out, there's a lot of motivation for them to stay focused and stay involved, because the tour's not over, and they potentially have a chance for the following week.
Thanks.
Warren, hi. You mentioned game time. You were pleased the other day when you said you only conceded 4 lineouts. How important is it, and how much are you focusing on keeping the ball moving, keeping the opposition moving, and eventually allowing your superior conditioning to tell?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, if you limiting the number of lineouts the opposition can have, then you're trying to use the aspects or the areas where you think you've got some strengths, and obviously that for us we feel like we've worked hard from a conditioning perspective. So I was a little bit surprised that they probably kicked out as much as they did, and I just wonder if that was a tactic of theirs to slow the game down to stay in it, or to try and put our line out under pressure for turnovers. So, and then it's about in the right areas of the field is keeping the ball and playing through phases and putting them under pressure and moving their forward pack around. So yeah, it's not always easy, but like I said, we're pretty happy where we are from that aspect. We're happy that we've the second half we won 19-5, which was a good indication of where we are. Just we've got to make sure that we're better in the first half.
Hi Warren, Will here. A lot's been written and said about Mario Itoje after his great performance in the first test. From your experience of coaching for a number of years now, how do you kind of compare him to guys like Alan Wynne and Paul O'Connell, Simon Shaw, those great locks that have played for the Lions and your teams over the years?
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent performance. I made a joke on Monday that it was the first time in about 360-odd games that Mario Itoje hadn't given away a penalty. So I kind of think, and then I spoke to him last night as well, and said maybe the pennies finally dropped, because I thought his decision-making around the game in terms of when he went for things, when he decided to leave things alone. I kind of found in the past that he's chased lost causes and gone after things and that he didn't need to do, and probably wasted a lot of energy. But I thought in Saturday's decision making about when to go after something, or counter ruck or a breakdown, the line out stuff, I thought was actually outstanding. So to me, that's it was probably the best game I've seen him play in any sort of jersey. We all know that how the energy he brings to a game and how enthusiastic, and sometimes that's probably been to his detriment, because he has been guilty in the past of giving away penalties and probably pushing the limits. But I thought we saw an incredibly mature performance last weekend.